Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon or morning in America time, I'm joined by Samary Polnett, who is a therapist and a serial entrepreneur based in Connecticut, which I believe is in between New York and Massachusetts. And so I'm going to put you as a red pin on my map of the world when we're finished with this, because I think you're the first person I've had on from Connecticut.
Great.
So there we are. But thanks very much for joining me. And how are you doing today? You okay?
I'm well. I'm well.
Brilliant, brilliant. And like my last visitor, which I literally just finished an online podcast and YouTube recording with, like them, I've only just met you again recently. We met, I think,
Yeah.
on Facebook via the Find a Guest podcast group, and that's great for me, that group, because it gets me to speak to interesting entrepreneurs from all around the world, and to share their story and their messages to my audience. So tell us a little bit about what you do, the therapist side of it, and also what you do now as the serial entrepreneur. And I can see then if there's any way that I might be able to help you in some way.
Of course. So again, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited. I love networking and making connections. I think that's what it's all about, and that's how we use Facebook very purposefully. So I am a therapist. That has been my career per se for the last almost 10 years. I work with children, adolescents, and families, and provide psychotherapy and work more in inner city type of communities. Um, so that's been, and I've also worked in the school system. So that's been a very great, rewarding career. But recently in about like 2 years ago, I decided to, well, let me backtrack. I've always had like an entrepreneur mindset. I've always been into some type of business, it's just ingrained in me. I've
Side
always wanted to
hustles.
like, yes. And I'm like, I always wanted to have that flow, that money flow, that freedom, and being able to just do what I want to do, all the time. So I've gone through different side hustles. And then about 2 years ago, I decided to join my husband in his real estate business because I wanted to help him build it larger. But I fell in love. So I fell in love with real estate, not the typical side of real estate, just more of like the flipping and the, helping others learn more about the real estate and investing. So I've been doing that more and more for the last 2 years. And that has been kind of where I'm shifting to my full-time hustle. And then I also help other entrepreneurs, usually moms, because I am a mom of four. So I know the struggle and I know the challenges, build their own businesses and help them get started and figure out like what they want to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic, because, people always need other people to show them the way. If they've learned a skill and it's helping them enhance their lives and giving them choices and freedoms, then, that's a great market. Busy, hardworking mums who are bringing up kids, whether they're, in a relationship or not. And there's a lot that do it on their own, but there's a lot that do it with partners as well. But teaching them a skill like, flipping or property developing or lead sourcing for the property sector or whatever it is that they need to do to get into to real estate. We call it property development in the UK. But yeah, it's a very useful skill to have. I know myself, I'm interested in property, have been for a long time. I haven't done any flipping, but I used to buy off plan before builds when markets were already going up, so that you could make on the fact that you secured it 2 years ago, and by the time it's built, it's gone up in value. So I used to have a strategy in the property sector, and I'm going to go doing flipping at some point. I got a property maintenance business at the moment, which I got with a friend of mine, and so we do a few renovations and stuff for other people just to get into the sector and get used to doing developments, ready for when I want to do a few flips of my own. So yeah, it's a great business to get into. It's one of the four main asset classes that create wealth by giving you a residual income. So anyone who is listening to this and wants help in the New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts area, I would highly recommend them to have a chat with you if you're going to help them
Mhm.
get through, some of the barriers and obstacles that they have to get into this side of things, because it's a great investment and it's a good thing to do with your money for anybody in life.
Yeah. And one point that I like to help a lot of people who I start helping out. A lot of people think that you need $100,000, $200,000 to get started. Like they have to have all this money, but there's so many different creative ways that you can still like be in real estate without having to put out your own cash. You can like you said, you're like helping someone else flip and do like their renovations, and you're learning and you're also getting paid, but eventually you're gonna do like the big thing on your own. So there's just a lot of other creative ways to set up different deals and things like that. So
So
I like to
sourcing
teach that.
properties, isn't it? Sourcing properties, finding deals for other flippers so that you get a commission for sourcing that deal, and then do that a few times, then you'll have enough money to do your own flip. And
Exactly.
collaborations, getting 10 other like-minded people to all chip in and doing a joint venture. There's all sorts of ways around the problem, but most people don't know where to start. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, that's fantastic what you're doing. So besides the therapy, so you're not doing the therapy now, or are you just doing a little bit?
I have I have decreased my clientele. So I used to see like 30 to 40 clients a week. I'm down to seeing about 10 clients, 10 to 15 clients a week. So I decreased that more than half. And my goal is by the end of this year to probably just keep probably maybe 5 to 10 on my caseload, because therapy does have my heart. I love helping, but I like to be able to help and being able to give my time and energy to like the people that I'm really truly helping. When I have so many clients on my caseload, sometimes it's like really difficult to help everyone, and there's so many different needs and so many different things that are going on that it becomes overwhelming and exhausting. Just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. Are you a hands-on developer, or are you a more project manager type developer?
So when it comes to the real estate part, I do more of like the project management stuff. My husband is a little bit more hands-on than I am. But I can be, like I could be involved if I need to be. I just like to mainly oversee.
Yeah, keep the nails in shape.
Yes.
Definitely. And you said serial entrepreneur as well. So do you do investments and things like that in other asset classes?
So I do other different things as far as like I do some of like network marketing that is tied in somewhere to my true beliefs and what I truly like want to grow. So
Yeah.
I help others build income that way as well.
Uh-huh.
And it's one of the companies that I work with is someone who is a company that provides legal services and solutions to families, individuals, and businesses for a very affordable price. So I like to always share things like that because, as we know, attorneys and attorney fees can be very, very pricey.
Yeah.
And when we're in the real estate world, sometimes they become extremely pricey, so you have to be able to have the resources and be able to afford things. So at the same time, I'm helping people access this, but I'm also building income this way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because a lot of property development friends of mine, one friend of mine is a very big coach. He coaches the sort of rich dad poor dad philosophy, if you like. He used to be a trainer for Robert Kiyosaki, but now he does his own coaching called KG Wealth, Kevin Green Wealth. And a lot of people in the property development also buy gold. Some buy diamonds and other precious stones. There's also stocks and shares, various things. In fact, another friend of mine, Karen Newton, she coaches people on how to invest in all the different asset classes in order to spread the risk and have revenue generating from various different assets.
That's definitely, and I mean, I think that we're at a time that we can't just put all our eggs in one basket. And I think it's always been like this, but people sometimes are always, in the mindset like you go to college, you get a career, you stay in like with a company, you get, retired, et cetera, and all of this. path, but it's not realistic anymore. Like that's not the way it goes. Companies shut down, things go bankrupt, and you get like left in the middle without nothing, no plan. So you have to be able to diversify yourself and be able to know that if you have to switch and you have to pivot, know when to do that.
Yeah, the problem with the paths, if you like, is that, it's the same problem with education. Education and the path of life, people have been doing since like the 60s or something like, yeah. And so like it's 40, 60 years old, and 60 years used to be a long time ago. But 60 years is forever these days in the rapidness of technology and change and etc. So if you're using something that's 60 years old, you're so far off the real path that it's almost non-existent. You're almost in a different universe, and that's the problem, is that people are using the age-old things that was taught by their parents, yeah, and they're still being taught the same thing because it comes down generational, and really, the clever people, if you like, have realized that information doesn't work. It's old, it's outdated, and you need to get with the program.
I know. And it's true, like sometimes we pump so much like in the direction because that's what, was pumped into us, what was given to us, and that's what we thought was correct. And we have to realize that times are changing and they're changing fast. Like they're not waiting for no one. They don't give you a pass. You don't get 6 months, a year, even with the whole COVID situation, so many people have had to adjust so quickly because jobs are not coming back in certain areas. They're not going to restart or boom again in that particular anytime soon anyway. So we have to like really adjust and like be comfortable doing that, and can't really mourn, like it is a sad time. It is like rough sometimes, like to think that something that you have been doing for a very long time, you can no longer do it, or it's going to be more challenging. But it's just a time to be more creative, and it pushes you to be outside of your comfort zone.
That's right. Yeah. Well, these crises that we're in again now, these so-called crises, or as most people in the entrepreneur space see them, these opportunity situations, they come around pretty regular. So this time it was a health. They're all financial crises, but this was a health-caused financial crisis. The last time was a property and a borrowing and a snake oil salesman selling stuff that weren't really real crisis. Yeah, and before that, I think there was unemployment crisis. I think in the 80s, there's always a crisis. Like, I mean, there will always be a crisis because, like, when you have growing pains, when there's not a crisis, when it's just what people see as the normal time, when you have those growing pains, what happens is everything doesn't grow in exactly the same proportion, and something grows out of proportion, and that thing that grows out of proportion needs to snap back into proportion. So things naturally, it will always snap back, and there will always be a crisis, or there will always be a change opportunity to reassess and recalculate what you're doing in life and in your business and etc. And actually making sure that it's as ready and as right and as efficient as it can be for the next 10 years of boom time before the next snapback happens, if you like. So it's just a reset period. Just as some of them are bigger resets, some of them are smaller resets, but they're all resets. And not only are they global resets these days, because there used to be more countrywide resets, so different countries would have these resets at different times. And so like it was a lot more complex there, but actually everyone's going through the same situation now. So it's not as complex as it used to be. Yeah, because we're all in it together. The whole world is going through the same situation. Yeah. And it's just, okay, well, I've got to get rid of that stuff. I've got to do some more of that stuff. And in 10 years' time, I've got to be prepared to get rid of some more stuff and do some more stuff. But actually, I also got to keep an eye on my own life, because I'm going to have my own mini crises and my own mini opportunities to change. It could be, it could be a car breaking down. It could be, having an unexpected child. We all have our own mini versions of these things at the same time. So what I've always sort of tried to do and teach other people is just that if you can keep yourself adaptable, flexible, nimble, quick to the draw, then whatever crises or opportunities happen in your life, at least you're thinking, you're right, you're thinking right, you're in control, you're calm,
Yeah.
and you're able to make decisions that, you're not going to get them all right, you won't get them all wrong, but if you are constantly in a state of readiness and preparedness for the situations that life throws at you, then you can better prepare and pivot and change and move with the times, and hopefully you're not going to become one of these blockbusters or Woolworths or companies that just didn't keep up with the pace and therefore died. Most businesses, if you're always keeping nimble and ready, you could just keep flowing and moving, ebbs and flows of life, and just going with the flow.
And I preach this every day, not only to like my friends, my clients, my family. They probably think I'm crazy all the time, but I'm like, you have to just adjust and go with the flow. Like, yes, sometimes you're gonna have like a pity party, but that pity party cannot last for like ever, because you're gonna just spiral down and it's gonna be horrible. You have to like learn how to like move forward, like, okay, you could cry it out, you got it, you could have a fit and have your tantrum, but then pick up and move on. Like, let that just be a very small part of your like of what's happening.
Yes.
And how you're reacting.
Exactly. You can't ask anybody in life if they not had a crisis, because everyone would have had a crisis at some point. And you can't ask them anyone if they got over that crisis, because they all got over that crisis. So what that teaches you is everyone's going to get a crisis at some point, and we all got to learn how to get over them. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much the
And
deal.
some of us, like some people take longer than others, but that's the part when we're like building like that resiliency and that building like that adjustment period and being able to be flexible and realize that wasn't just like, concrete. You have to like bend and be like, let's go.
Yeah. Well, the ones that adapt and come over the crisis quicker are the ones that are mentally prepared for the crisis and willing to try things and adapt and that, and the ones and actually who are more used to pushing themselves outside of their comfort zone and being uncomfortable, because change is uncomfortable, and some people embrace change like myself, and other people fight change. And so if you're resisting the change, then the change is going to take longer, but you will still have to go through the change, because everybody does. None of it. We're all resisting getting older, but we all can't stop it. We all getting older. You can resist, but it's happening. Just like the change will happen, because the world is ever evolving, and we can't live in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. We got to live in the now.
You do, and you have to, like go with the flow, or else we're gonna be. This is unfortunately why we see so much depression and anxiety and so many of these other like mental health issues that spiral out of control a lot of the times, is because we're having such a hard time with what's happening that we can't really cope in that moment in time. So
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why I actually set up my podcast. Although it's an entrepreneurship podcast, and I get a lot of people on talking about entrepreneurship, etc. I actually started it in the lockdown, because I knew there was going to be a lot of people struggling with this situation, because it's a tough situation when you haven't got mental health issues, etc. But if you've got mental health issues, they're going to be compounded by the fact that you can't. Mental health issues often have issues over routine and meeting people, all sorts of things which lockdown is going to negatively affect, and therefore those coping mechanisms aren't there anymore, and they have an effect then on, well, if you haven't got the coping mechanisms, then you can't cope, and the conditions all get worse, which is, I seen that coming. I could see it coming a mile off, because I'm a amateur psychologist, I would say. I've been in sales all my life. I got high empathy, and I've studied people all my life. And so it doesn't take it, you don't have to have been somebody who studied people all your life to know that people don't like being locked down. That's why prisons exist. And that's, as a deterrent to people to go into that situation. And that it was going to be a big problem. And actually, I don't think the problem is really, I think the problem started, but hasn't really begun yet. It started, but the big problem is still to come.
I do. I believe that there's definitely more that we're gonna see, like as a residual of this. Like the aftermath of all of this that's going on. There's gonna be a lot happening.
Furlough haven't even stopped yet. So if you like, the only people who've been chewed up and spat out in this so far have been the entrepreneurs in the sectors that can't pivot. So travel, hospitality, certain sectors like that, they haven't been able to do anything, like, events, There's so many sectors,
Yeah.
but a lot of events have gone online, so that's been all right. Some hospitality has gone online, but a lot of hospitality haven't. And travel, you
No,
can't
but
do
even like
anything.
a lot of the people who have been, who own restaurants and have like the wait staff and things like that, a lot of people are like, in that service industry for a long period of time, and they're not going back to work. Restaurants are open, but they're not hiring at full capacity.
No,
They're like bringing back like half of their staff,
yeah.
because they can't come in at full capacity and everything else. So
No, but
there are a
there's
lot.
been a bit of news here and there about some companies going bust and some job losses and stuff. But the vast majority of those businesses that are going to go bust are still being held together by sticky back plastic at the moment, by sellotape. And as soon as the furlough goes, then there's going to be a lot
Yeah.
more of those stories, and then it's going to take a year or two, for things to sort of settle down. It's my prediction at the end of the day. I'm not a qualified person on this, but I did study economics in A level in high school, and I study markets and economies and stuff. So it's just my own view. But I think the big bang, if you like, is still to come, and then it's going to probably take a couple of years, and then it's going to be slow growth out of it. Then, like it was out of the global credit crunch.
Yeah.
That's
But you
my
know what? I
prediction.
mean, I think it's like we said, it's an opportunity for everyone to, adjust, like be a part of this change, and like it is uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be in an unfamiliar place. Not have like this plan that you had in your mind. Go through like the way you want it to go through, but it's a time to just be like, okay, embrace it, embracing the change and the opportunities, like what's there, what's the lesson that we're all learning in general.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like I always say in business, they should have at least a 5-year plan. They should really have a 10, 20-year plan.
Yeah.
The longer you think and the bigger you think, the more successful you'll be in life generally. So, but I always say you've got to have at least a 5-year plan, but then you should assess your 1-year plan at the end of every year to make sure that year 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the 5-year plan are still relevant. So you just keep tweaking the plan and working the plan. But you also have to be prepared to ditch the plan and go
Yeah.
to plan B or plan C if a coronavirus crisis happens and you can't all of a sudden open your shop or your premises or whatever the big thing may be. You have to sometimes rip up the plan and write a whole new plan right there and then.
Yeah. And this literally forced us to do that. Like so many people had to like literally like pivot immediately, like so fast. It's like, okay, now what are we doing? What can we do? Because we were kind of in a weird standstill for a while. We were like, okay, do we go? And even like the real estate, because we had contracts and we all of a sudden like people were not closing and like things were happening, like people were like, oh my God, do we sell? Do we not sell? Like what's happening? Like they had no idea what was like going on. So for a couple of months we had a weird like standstill moment, but now we're getting back into some type of groove. It's definitely not anything what it was like before, but it's actually like different in a good way, like much different, but in a really good way.
Well, a question I used to ask all my guests, and I've actually stopped asking it as we've come out of lockdown, but as you talk that, and there's a lot of people interested in property and development and that. So for you, I'm going to ask the question again. How was the coronavirus lockdown situation for you, and what did you do to pivot in that time in the
It was
property
wild.
business?
It was wild because, I have my children at home, and my husband, even though we have our real estate business, he does work outside of the home, and he's considered an essential employee. So he was working through the whole situation while I was home, with the kids and just handling like homeschool / virtual learning situation.
How old are the
And
children? How old are the 4 children?
I have a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and I have 3-year-old twins.
Okay, yeah. So you had some challenges. You had some challenges there.
Yeah. So we had to like, coordinate, like adjust and figure out some things. And like, we didn't really have a lot of sitters during that time. We had to like wait for a few months. So it was just,
Was your 12-year-old good with the 3-year-old twins?
he's actually amazing. I did not think that he was going to be like a good, like, big brother like that, but
Yeah.
he's been amazing. And I'm so like thankful. I'm like, listen, we're a whole co-parenting like team right now. We all have to like tag team because we have to get stuff done, and sometimes like we don't have a choice. We have to just
Just get it done. Exactly, get
Yeah.
it done. And like you say, you used to having to be mum and then therapist and then property developer and whatever. You had to just learn how to do all three at the same time.
Hmm. Literally, like calls, like
And
get
a
on
teacher.
Zoom, like for your classes. Hold on, I have like someone who's trying to buy something or do something. I'm like, oh my God, it was wild. But
Yeah.
it took about, I would say, like 6 to 8 weeks to get like in some type of routine, like a new routine
Yeah.
that we were a little comfortable with. And then after that, we had like another flow.
But that's it. So everyone picked up their new additional roles. Your 12-year-old stepped up a bit. You become more of a sort of coordinator than just a mum. A coordinator and an extreme multitasker, because all mums are multitaskers. So you had to become like an extreme multitasker,
It was
getting dinner
wild.
cooked, getting dinner cooked in 5 minutes and stuff, because you didn't have time to take half an hour. You had to just get it done
Yeah.
when you're on the phone. And
No, like I wish someone would videotape. And even some days it's still like that. Like I have the headsets and like to help like block the noises, and I'm like cooking and like doing stuff and giving that one, putting that one down for a nap, but it's something that I'm thankful for, because I have had the flexibility to do something like that. It's not easy by any means. And I know that
no.
anyone you ask is never easy. And it's not something that I technically like enjoy, like being stretched in a million different directions, but I also feel like passionate about every single thing that I do and all the different roles in my life. So I'm like, I'm going to be there, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to just do what I can, the best that I can, and keep faith that God got me. It's like, you got me.
In my experience, I'm pretty good multitasking and doing those sort of things, which is why I've done sales management, because I used to run a team of 17 salespeople, 12 females and 5 males, and that's like running a team of kids sometimes, because salespeople can be a bit a bit crazy. It's a bit like, when you've got a big development job on and you've got lots of people doing, the plastering and the tiling and the woodwork. You've got everyone everywhere.
Babysit. You gotta have the babysit and make sure like they're like doing what they have to do, because people get off task.
Yeah, definitely. But so I'm a pretty good multitasker, but in my experience, women are always, tend to be better at that, because I think they're more used to it, because they've taken on equality in the working world and the career world and all that, but unequality in the parenting usually still. It means that they have more juggling to do. And also because women are nesters more so than men. So women want to do more jobs around the house than men do. Men don't want to do any, but women want to do lots because they like to keep their nest tidy. And so you have to keep the nesting skills with the parenting skills, with the business career skills, and so I myself, I got brought up by an awesome mum who was amazing at doing all those things. And I got brought up by an awesome nan who was also amazing at doing those things, because she got widowed at 40, brought up 4 kids on her own from 40 upwards. So I have a big appreciation for super women who can do it all, because it's not easy. It's not easy just doing, one of the 4 things you had to do. Being a mum's not easy. Being a teacher's not easy. Being a property developer and a project manager and a coordinator, not easy. Having to do that with a bit of therapy is not easy. All of this combination together is not easy, but super women can pull it off. So well done for that.
Oh, thank you.
No, but sometimes women don't get the appreciation that they need when they're doing that sort of thing, because it's tough, it is tough. But that's why a lot of women are tough.
Yeah. There's no excuses in that sense, right? There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, when you're forced into the situation, it might not be your choice, but you just got to get through it, haven't you? That's your choice. Your choice is, do I give up? Do I give up and the kids are looking like a slob and I'm looking like a slob, and I'm not making any money, and and nobody's eating any food, and do I do that? Which some people do, make those choices, or do I just find a way?
It's true. And for me, I'm like, listen, I will always look for a way. Like, there's always a way. There's always something. And it might not happen right away. And I'm always preaching that. I'm always telling everyone, it's like, listen, this is temporary. Like, do not stay in that space, and then do not like speak that into your mind, because now you're gonna believe that you're like that, you know, that you're gonna be in there forever, that you're not gonna have any change and positivity in your life.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. There's a group actually run by a friend of mine and one of my sort of managing directors. I run, I'm a sales and marketing director for a networking and events company, as well as have my own businesses and podcasts and whatever. And my friend Tracy Smolinski, she runs the Intrabiz Network, which is where I'm sales and marketing director. And we do online events for people in the business world to come and network globally online. So we used to do it around Wales, real world events, local, but we've switched it to online events, and it started getting a global audience. Um, so I was going to invite you to that, but we tend to do events Friday morning, 9 till 11 in the morning, which means you're about 5, 6, 7 hours behind in America. I think you're Eastern time, so you're 5 hours behind. So that would be like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. So that they would be no good for you. But we're going to be doing events occasionally on a Wednesday evening, late on in the day here. So they would be the afternoon for you. So if and when we ever do that, I'll invite you to those events, right? But in the meantime, she runs a network, an additional network for women only called IWOW. And IWOW stands for International Women of the World.
I like that.
Inspirational Women of the World, not international, Inspirational Women of the World, but it's international. It's an international network, a support group for inspirational women. And there's a Facebook group called, I think it's abbreviated to IWOW, IWOW. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you should join that and connect with Tracy. And, you know, there'll be loads of property developers in there. I know another friend of mine, Lindsay, has got a property development business in Wales, and she's a member in there as well. And
That's awesome.
they do things like women retreats and that sort of thing, you know, entrepreneur retreats and masterminds and all sorts of stuff they do. So so check them out. You definitely, yeah, you definitely would get on there, get on well there. And also, I am promoting from Monday an Intrabiz Global Summit, which is a 3-day conference where you can listen to people like Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Dr. John DeMartini, Sharon Lecter, who from co-authored Rich Dad Poor Dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is, I guess, a book you maybe have read. You read that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought most of the people in the property world have read that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sharon Lecter's a really good, I think she's a member of IWOW as well, Sharon Lecter, because Tracy, my friend, and Sharon Lecter are friends, like, you know.
Nice.
So so yeah, there's some connections for you.
Yeah.
And how do people get in touch with you if they want to do business with you, or you know, something you've said resonates with them, or they want to get into property with you, or joint ventures or anything like that? How do they do that?
Yeah, so you can always find me. I'm on social media. My Instagram is Instagram.com, you know, like in at Samary, SAMARY .Polnett, POLNETT. I'm active there often. And then on Facebook also, it's under my name, Samary Polnett. You can find my page, my groups, and then my website, which is www.samarypolnett.com.
There we are. So I think if they Google search Samary Polnett, my guess is it's not that common a name. So therefore they find you. So from a branding point of view, that'd be easy. Like with me, I used to be hard to find because there was a lot of Mike Armstrongs, but I'm not anymore because I do SEO and search ranking and a lot of marketing. And so I'm the top Mike Armstrong on LinkedIn, and I'm the top Mike Armstrong on Google in the UK. Good. So I don't know what I am internationally. I don't know if you searched Mike Armstrong internationally, I probably wouldn't be top, but I am in the UK.
Good. That's exciting.
But I think if you searched hashtag Mike Armstrong anywhere in the world, I would be the one that comes up because I use that. I own the Mike Armstrong hashtag.
Nice. I like that.
So yeah, so I think you could find me anywhere in the world with that hashtag Mike Armstrong, and that's a good idea for you. Actually, it's a marketing strategy I give to a lot of my friends and colleagues, is to own their hashtag before someone else does. Yeah.
How do you do that, by the way?
Just
I'm
start
interested.
sticking hashtag Samary Polnett on everything that you do on social, and eventually you're going to own it. You know, as in, you don't have to register or nothing. But what I mean by own it is when people look for it, it's you that's going to come up.
I'm gonna find you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. That's a great
So own
marketing
it by taking control of it, and then
tactic.
it's yours. You know what I mean? If somebody wants to fight me for the Mike Armstrong, they best be prepared to put out some content. You know what I mean? Because I own it. Like, you know what I mean? It's mine. I own it. I've been using it for a long time.
I like that. I don't think anyone will find me for my name. There's not a lot out there.
No, that's the good thing. I say it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is you don't have to work hard for people to find you. The
Yeah.
bad thing is you don't have to work hard for people to find you. So therefore, you don't have to learn the skills that I had to learn to get to where I had to get to.
True.
Yeah. So there's a plus and a minus. One saves you a lot of work. I quite like a lot of work because a lot of work turns you into an expert.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true.
So,
That's true.
you know, that's how you become an expert property developer, by doing a lot of properties.
Yeah. And learning a lot from mistakes, from the
Yeah.
positive, the negative.
And sometimes it's the ones that go wrong or push you the hardest is the ones you grow from and learn from the most.
You are, yes, truth. Very truthful. I've
Yeah,
learned that a lot.
I'm somebody that been there, done there, got the t-shirt, got the war wounds, got the scars, if you like, but also got the knowledge and the information and the understanding of what I've learned along the way by getting the scars and the war wounds and the stories. And actually, you know, having a life of actually doing it and not just learning about it teaches you, you know, lots of different things, but it gives you mental toughness, which is the main thing that you need from all of those things is the mental toughness.
This time you absolutely do. That's it. You gotta growing, you know, like you gotta stick to it. You gotta like be ready.
Yeah,
Be
yeah,
prepared.
definitely. Exactly. So on that note, I think we've done about 45 minutes, which is you know, my usual sort of episode. So if there's not anything else that you want to talk about or promote, then I think we can call it a day.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me again, and I'm excited to hear everything afterwards.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah, and yeah, thank you very much for coming on my podcast. And I will promote the episode, publish it on my podcast and on my YouTube channel, probably later today or tomorrow. And then I'll put it out there all on my social media. So feel free to share it and do whatever you want with it and engage with it. And obviously, if there's other entrepreneurs on my YouTube channel or on my podcast that you wanted to listen to or look or be introduced to, if you see anyone that I'm connected with that you'd like to be introduced to, most of the people I connect with are open networkers, so you can just approach them yourself and just say, oh, we have a mutual contact in Mike, you know, and they'll just network with you. But some people like introductions and come to me and say, oh, I've seen so-and-so or I've seen so-and-so and I'd like to get to know them. I do an introduction on, you know, WhatsApp or Messenger or LinkedIn. I use all of these things and just connect people together because I'm all about connecting people, helping people, and all of that. And if ever you're doing anything that's aimed at UK entrepreneurs or global entrepreneurs, and you want me to market that to my audience, tag me in, or you know, let me know, and I'll share it. I like helping people.
Absolutely. Thank you. Likewise. I love to share.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, well, you know, that's how you were able to manage so many things all at once because you've probably shared a lot to other people and the universe has owed you a favor, like, you know, what goes around comes around.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. All right, then, well, you have an awesome Saturday, and I look forward to getting to know you more through social and everywhere else.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Brilliant. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There's nothing else left to say other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. Cheers. Bye-bye.